Okay.
Okay, and this is my course that I'm recently submitted for exemplary course evaluation. It's OST 240 Advanced Microsoft Applications. It's typically taken by students who are in business or the medical information technology programs, and we average about, I'd say on average, 25 students per semester. The course content reflects the learning outcomes for the course, and so we spend a few weeks, or well, actually 3 weeks on Word and PowerPoint, and then 4 weeks each on Excel and Access. And students have assignments due every Sunday. I open up modules about 2 to 3 weeks early, depending on how quickly they are um, getting work done. But their assignments are due every Sunday. The course uses MyLab IT, Pearsonmylab IT. There are 4 e-textbooks in the MyLab platform that they use, and most of the work for the course is in MyLab. We have some in Blackboard, but most of it's in MyLab, and it uses single sign-on, so they always come to Blackboard first, and then each learning module has a link. They can go to the MyLab platform, or they can use this folder right here that has a link in it as well. So the course has a lot of modules, one for every week. Actually, we have the course information at the top that's always there. And then, so every week there's a module with a due date in the name. So that kind of keeps them on track to know when assignments are coming due. With MyLab, enrollment happens automatically. The first time the student clicks to visit MyLab, they're enrolled in the platform, and they never have to log in again, which makes it really pretty seamless. MyLab is noted in the syllabus, and actually in the syllabus quiz, because some students are they don't really want to go to the MyLab platform, and I have to some of them take a lot of encouragement. No, you're going to have to do this, or you're not going to pass the class. You have to use it. But in the course information folder, or it's actually a module. I'll open that up. They have any kind of technology that they're going to use for this course. There's something in here to tell them about it. We use Microsoft Teams for collaboration. So anytime a student needs help with something, this course actually for the last a lot of semesters is offered virtually. It's not really a face-to-face. So we use Microsoft Teams to collaborate when they need help with something. And also I put information in here about getting Microsoft Office, because they have to have Microsoft Office to do some of the projects. And then there's training for Blackboard if they need that. Let's see, where else can we go with this? The learning modules all have a consistent format. So they kind of, let me just open one up here. Pick this one. So there is an overview page that, well, I'll just open that up. An overview, and all the overview pages are similar to this one. So they get an introduction to the module, a rationale, and then the module objectives. And actually, maybe I should just go into the student view. That might make this easier. So you can kind of see the navigation here, how that works. Oh, come on. Okay, so if I pick a module, here's the overview, and then there's like an assignments explained page. So every week we cover a chapter. So this is so there's always learn. What are you going to learn for this chapter? How are you going to learn it? I guess the practice. And every chapter that we do, we have a training simulation, um, which actually teaches them the content. I always invite them to read, but actually the books are more like they are like reference manuals. Nobody really wants to read that, but they're invited to. And then the training simulation is what actually introduces them to, you know, the features in that office product that they're going to use. And then practice, they have a practice project. And I give them a video. I work through the project, every aspect of the project. I work through and explain how to do the steps. And they have a video to help them. Actually, they can work through the project with the video, but I find that if they don't have two monitors, if they only have one monitor, that can be really, really tedious because they either have to split the screen or they have to like stop the video and go to the application and then come back. So that can be tedious. If they have two monitors, it's real easy to do. And then assess. They have an assessment project, which is very, very similar to the practice project. Of course, not identical, but it's very similar. And so then they have to do that without help. And then they get a link within the module to open my lab. I'm not going to do that because I can't really do that as a student. And then we have a wrap-up page that kind of is a recap of here's what I hope you got out of this module. Here's what you should have submitted, and then what's coming up next. In this course, we have a lot of bonus point opportunities. So the course, when a student takes this course, we assume that they have had some experience with Microsoft Office. Actually, it's a prerequisite that they've had like an OST 105 introduction or a CIT 105 course. And so we start in at Word with chapter 3. But I open up chapters 1 and 2, the training simulations. You know, if somebody hasn't had that course for a while, or like a prerequisite course, or maybe they really don't even use Office, maybe they use Google platform for their productivity, it's good to give them opportunities to review, you know, to get caught up or whatever. And I offer those bonus points to do those training simulations. A training simulation, if you're real familiar with the application, I can do one in 15 or 20 minutes, but I know my students might spend 2 or 3 hours on them. So like to do one. So I got to give them some incentive. So I give them 20% of their highest score to do, you know, a preliminary training simulation. And we have preliminaries in Office and PowerPoint, in Access and Excel. Actually, in Excel for chapter 1, because we start Excel in chapter 2 in this course. And then everybody needs practice with Access because not too many people use that. But I find that the majority of students really struggle with Access. So we always start chapter 1 there. We also have badging. The Pearson platform has opportunities for students to earn badges, and those are registered through a claim. And that's a big incentive. I encourage the students to do those. The badging projects are really just cover the first 3 chapters of any of the applications. So they are very capable of getting them. You know, especially by the time we finish that application and move on to the next one. So I give the student 50% of their highest score. They have to have 90% on the project to get the badge, but I give them 50% of their highest score to at least attempt it. You know, whether they get the badge or not, they still get the bonus points. And the badging projects really aren't hard. Well, I guess that's relative, but they're long. So it takes a long time to do a badging project. Like they're 3 times longer than a regular project in the MyLab platform. So I don't know, what else can I tell you about, or what would you like to see? Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Would anybody like to sit? What? Go ahead.
This is Sherry. I do have a question. I see when you designed your course, you had a lot of things that would come from a course map or a course overview. Did you use something like that? Because I mean, on your like your course overview in the first part of the module, it goes all the
Mm-hmm.
way through assessment. So did you use a particular thing when you were creating this?
Well, I was in Cool Academy and we did a course map um, to kind of, determine how we were going to split everything up. Um, but also before I did Cool Academy, I'd already taught this course quite a few times, so I kind of had an idea of how I wanted it to run. You're talking about, let's see, the course overview that has this actually just has the learning outcomes
Yes, I was talking
for
about
the
the
course.
other one in the week. It's not the course, it's actually the module or unit overview or
Oh,
whatever.
the module that I showed.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Let
sorry.
me find it. That's okay. So many modules. Okay, so like this overview, is that what you're referring to, or
Yes, that's the one.
so what, the objectives or?
Well, I saw where it went all the way through, maybe it was the next part, sorry.
That's
But it
okay.
goes all the way through your assessments, where you have your links to everything and what they'll be covering,
Oh,
what their project
the
is, and all of that.
the
Yes,
assignments
the assignment
explained.
explained. There you go, that one.
Okay, and that just kind of did I have a map for this? Um, I think this just kind of evolved. Yes, I put it in the map when I did Cool Academy, but this just kind of evolved over having taught this so many times that I kind of laid it out this way. Now, and to be fair, I like to put it on well, actually Ultra kind of makes this more reasonable to me to do it this way. Um, in Blackboard Learn, I would just have, all right, here's do this, do this, do this, do this, which is kind of what this is. But I could actually have the links to go to the platform here. So like where I have here Open My Lab, I would actually in Blackboard Learn put a link to that Open My Lab and they could read about it and then click and go do it. But in this in Blackboard Ultra, I have to have a separate page for the link because it has to be like an LTI learning link um, to get out to my lab. So in that regard, but as it turns out, actually, what students tell me is they tend to just like, actually, a lot of them don't really even look at this unless they have trouble. What they do, and here's what they tell me they do anyway, is they just look at this overview page. That's the main page they go to because I always put here, here's what you got to do this for this module. So I tell them you got to do this training simulation and you have to do this condo loan project. And then, which is kind of sad because then if they don't go see the assignments explained, they may not even look or pay attention at all to the practice project. Like they don't have to do that practice project, but it really helps them if they do it, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't, you know, whether some of them just watch the video for the practice project, which is fine. In my lab, the projects, the way they're laid out, um, if it's an assignment, it shows up on an assignments page. And if it's just for fun, I guess for practice, they have to actually open the course material folder to get to it.
Brian Barker has a question. It says, I may have missed this, but do you have any or ever have you ever considered group projects? Perhaps something where students create a marketing campaign or for a fake company using PowerPoint to present, Word to create marketing materials, Excel to calculate a budget, Access to generate customer base. Just curious if you do something like that. This course seems like a good fit for something like that.
Well, when I taught it face to face, we did some group things, but taught virtually, really the only group thing I do is in, see, no, it's in Excel. Um, they work a project. They work a it's actually kind of like procedure writing. That's the way I see it. It's a discussion board. They're assigned a project, and everybody takes, hopefully, actually they do tend to take different steps, and then write up instructions on how to complete that step.
Hmm.
And if they can add screenshots, that's a bonus. I encourage them to do that to kind of help with, but some of them don't really do that. They just write the instructions. But that's really, I just haven't put that in here really, a group activity, not in the virtual part of it.
We also have a question from Amy Byron. What are the pros and cons of creating your syllabus directly in Ultra versus attaching it as a file?
Um, I don't know. I attach it as a file. Don't put it in there directly, but actually part of the exemplary course rubric is you have to put the objectives, like these objective statements have to be in the syllabus. So I copied those in there. Um, I put some key things from the syllabus are in the course, like the main things that I want them to remember. Let me try that. Let me go back to that course information. Where is that exactly? I went up there. Oh, I did have it open, didn't I? Here on the course instructor page, we're being slow today. I have communication notes. These are in my syllabus too, but I put them here. Um, just some things about when they're contacting me. I like them to put the course number, in the title of the email, and if they're going to use the messaging feature, I like them to check the box for email. Just those kinds of things. But no, I don't actually put this. Our syllabus here at ACTC is super long. It's like 20 some pages, so I don't really want to put that in my course.
Great. Okay, Kaya, sorry if I said that wrong, Mueller. So, any ideas on how to get the students to read these instructions and not just use the activity stream grade book to skip right to the graded work?
Well, if you gave bonus points, that might encourage them. Actually, my students aren't too interested in bonus points till we get to Excel, and then they'll backtrack and do some of the bonus work. But you know, I can't really control what they read or don't read. I don't think I can incentivize it, but I my impression is they're just going to do what they have to do. You know, they're busy people.
Right. Kaya said she's thought about requiring sequence in the learning module where it doesn't turn on till you're done with that, or at least click on it. Janet Thompson said, do you record many lecture videos in this course?
Actually, every module where I show how to do those projects, the practice projects, a lot of those were recorded during class, during classes, but there's actually not really, there's not really any lectures because even when the class meets face to face, the way we learn the application is, or the features is to do the practice projects. The training simulations are actually where the real work is done. The training simulations, each feature that's covered in the chapter, there is a there's a simulation, like a step in the simulation to cover that. If the student doesn't know how to do that step, or they're struggling with that step, they have 3 training options to pick from. They can click to read about it, and so when they do that, that section of the textbook will pop up right to how to do that step, and they can read how to do that step, and they get screenshots or whatever that's included in the textbook. There's another option to watch a video, and if they click to watch how to do the step, they get a short video that explains and shows how to do the step. And then the last option, which is my favorite, is to practice. And so they get these on-screen pop-ups that hints, like it'll say, click here, type this here, or move your mouse here. And it's like on screen that shows how to do it. And they have to do it, with the learning aid. And then when the learning aid ends, they have to be able to do it on their own. And they can repeat that as many times as they need to. And actually, what's really neat in my lab is I can play back their activity in the simulation, so I can actually see what they were trying to do or why they weren't getting it right, which is a neat feature. Does anybody want to see my lab? I can pop that up if anybody wants to look at it. Just see what that looks like. I can just do that. So when I open this, I will come into the student view. So this is what the student would see. And right now they only see what some, what areas have been assigned. So there's also like a folder here for access and one for PowerPoint, but we've not touched on that yet in the course, so they don't see that. When they have assignments, they can come up here and look at to do, which is what most of them do. There's another view, a course calendar view, but most of them just use this to-do list. And this is what's been assigned right now. So they have a simulation due on the 27th, and then a simulation and a project due on March 6th. And actually there's only a simulation here and not a project, because this is that group thing that we were talking about. So they're going to work through the project and do a discussion board about that in Blackboard. But in the course material, so if I went back here, I can kind of show you that. If I open up Excel, and I'll just do that. So we actually start in Excel in chapter 2, but I have chapter 1 open here, and if they wanted to go do the training simulation, that would be right here. They would open that, and here they could do that. And these are 2 practice projects they can work through if they just want to. I tell them that's a good idea to do that if they're going to try for the badging project in Excel, because these two projects, or at least one of them, would kind of help them be able to do that badging project faster. And on these practice projects, they have unlimited attempts. And that's one of the good things about these or any of the projects, is they get immediate feedback. They get a feedback report, and actually the feedback report kind of looks like it's actually the grading rubric. So they get access to that before they start the project. So they know what each step, how many points it's worth. But in the feedback report, they can see which steps did they miss points on. Sometimes it'll give them a little hint about what they did wrong, and then they can go and fix that error most of the time, and then resubmit. So even on an assessment project, they have 3 attempts on the project to fix problems. But on these practice projects, they have unlimited attempts. And honestly, I like to see that they're fixing their errors and resubmitting, because to me that means they're learning. The more time they spend in there, the more they're learning. Also, another good thing about my lab is these projects they're encrypted. So the student downloads files to do the project. The project file that they're going to work in is encrypted with their account key. And so if they're sharing files, that gets flagged, and I know if it's not really their file.
Ed Morris has a question. He asks, with Pearson, are you able to see the exact experience that the student will encounter, or do you have only an instructor view?
Well, this is the student experience, what I have up right here. This is the student's view, and I can go to the instructor's view. It's right up here. But when I enter the platform, I'm in the student view.
Thank you. It said thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Is there anything else that anybody's interested in seeing, or discussion
Janet?
board? Yeah, we
Okay.
have
Yeah.
discussion boards. A few. We have, I have a question. That one's always there. Some classes use the heck out of this and some of them don't. Actually, now that we have this messages feature, because most of the questions were actually, I would say, questions that I had to answer anyway. I always invite students to answer questions if they know the answer, but help a classmate with Excel, that's the one they're doing this week. So they're going to work through the practice project in Excel Chapter 4, and they're going to post instructions for how to do a step in that project. Then we have the introduce yourself, and then this one here, tools for knowledge workers. We do that one later in the semester. So this is actually gives them a chance to think about how they might use Microsoft Office professionally, to share knowledge, or in the workplace. Does anybody else have any questions? Well,
There are none in the chat. Leah?
Hey Lisa, this is Leah Simpson. I have
hi.
a good morning. I have a couple of questions for you. So
Okay.
the first one is, in your switch to Ultra, how long have you, first of all, how long have you been teaching in Ultra? Did you say? I don't recall.
I switched everything. Let's see. last semester, before last semester. So everything's been in Ultra since before last semester.
Okay, so you've
So
not been teaching in a tremendously long time.
no.
What was the biggest learning curve for you as you switched to Ultra?
Um, I think the biggest learning curve for me was how to do those LTI learning links that you can't just, and at first I hated it, that I couldn't embed them like into a page, that I had to have a separate page. And I tried to find a way around that every way I could. But I'm kind of used to that now. And I think the real plus of that is the way we do it in Ultra now. When when I copy this course to the next course, to the next semester, and I create the course on the MyLab side, I don't have to change any of the links in any of the modules. That
Oh,
just happens automatically. And so that is a great plus, because before I'd have to go back module by module and edit all those links when I say open MyLab. So in that regard, it's much better. I think that was the biggest learning curve. The other thing that I really have trouble with, if I wanted to move a module, like, and it happens within, if I want to like just move things around, like let's just pick on one here. Like let's say I wanted to move this page up or down, and I did, and this is true on the grade book too. It's really hard to like put that where you want it, even though it's drag and drop. It's just hard to control to get it where you want it. So I might monkey around with that way longer than I think I should have to, or maybe I just don't have the patience for it.
no, that's a problem for everyone. We've made that known to Blackboard, and other clients, I think, have made that known. They know it's a problem. Um,
Yeah.
it does help if you zoom out enough so that the screen is very, very small. That does seem to help a
Oh,
little bit, but it certainly doesn't make it as easy as it should be by any
well,
means.
to be fair, my learning curve is, especially in the grade book, I be sure I click where I want that object to appear, so I don't have to move it. I just have to pay more attention to that, I think. Some things I like about Ultra, the discussion boards, I think, are a little bit different, as far as I think it's harder to, well, like if I jump over here now, I can tell when somebody's posted because I get this little indicator here. But let me just open one up. I I guess the view is just, I don't know. It's just different, I guess. I have to get used to using this, I think, more. It's just, I don't know. It's different. I'll get used to it. Um, the grade book, the items in the grade book. I don't know. There's some things about this. Actually, it's not in this course. It's in a course where they have assignments directly there. I think that view, it's sometimes it's hard to tell if they've submitted something or not. I can't even think of the situation. I have to actually click on the student to see the submission. I have to like go at it at a different way to actually be able to get to their submission, if that makes sense. But that was kind of a learning curve. But it's really not that bad. I mean, we all get used to it.
So my second question for you, Lisa, is, and this actually may not be a result of Ultra. It could just be a result of, if you noticed anything, it could be just a result of kind of the way you have chosen to design an Ultra. Um, have have you noticed a difference in students needing help or asking questions about stuff like how to find stuff, or is there a difference, or are they pretty much still going in the same path and asking you the same amount of questions not content related questions, but those other types of questions. Have you seen a difference in that at all?
I have. I think the thing I hear, oh, I missed that. I didn't see that. That's what I get. I think, there's a learning curve for them as well. And I think that's why I do that recap at the end, and I say, okay, you're done with this module when you've submitted these things, because even though I put it at the beginning too, um, it's a week and maybe they've forgotten or they just didn't see it. I don't find that so much in this class as in the classes where the assignment is submitted within the module, like the assignment page, and sometimes they don't see that or they can't find it again. So I have to tell them, explicitly how to get back to that assignment page and how to open the assignment to submit it. And there is another thing here, because I've had 2 questions on this. In this course, how to attach a file in the discussion. And I get that question on the assignments in Blackboard too, where they have to click in the content box to get the toolbar. They don't see the toolbar until they click in the content box, and that throws them off.
Have you built in any, like maybe the first time they have to submit an assignment, have you built in any kind of like, here's a reminder how to submit?
Yes, I do that.
Okay.
Yeah, but they don't read.
No,
So
they don't love that, do they? You've done your part though. That's the only questions that I had for you.
okay. Well, are we done then?
I say yes. I say, if people have gotten their questions answered, that this session, we don't need to take up people's time. So we've got 10 minutes that you get back on your day, Lisa.
Sounds good. I got plenty to do.
Yes, I'm sure you do. Thank you so much for sharing your course with us for Ultra Week.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.